So we have Delhi 2013, Nepal 1997, Assam 1988, Rajpur 1969, Leh, Khalat and Sheh 1885 till about 1913, 1856 Kelang, Phu, as Brother Dinchu mentioned, St. Thomas in the Caribbean, 1732, and he's just mentioned before this that Moravian missionaries went to Tamil Nadu. When? Anybody have any idea? Okay. We find they went in 1759. In the 1750s, the British East India Company was beginning to become very powerful. And their main interests were money, money and money. They didn't want the missionaries to upset the local people by preaching and, finding that people became Christians. So they didn't allow them to do their missionary work in the territories controlled by the East India Company, even though they themselves were supposed to be Christians. Okay, so they were kind of, shall we say, nominal Christians whose real God was money rather than the Lord Jesus Christ. But the Danish royal family were strong and believing Christians, convinced Christians. And in Tamil Nadu, in one area, there was a Danish territory, that's set up for trading. So the Danish royal family allowed the Moravians to come there, to join the Lutherans who were already there. And when the Moravians came, the Danes were very happy because they knew that the trade was there. It was important, but it was really secondary. The most important thing was that the people of that area should come to know the Lord. So the area in Tamil Nadu where they worked was called Trankavar in those days. I think the modern name is a bit different. I don't know the modern Tamil name. And they worked till 1790s for about 30 to 40 years. But a very large number of missionaries died. Maybe they caught, tropical diseases. And eventually the number of missionaries fizzled out because there weren't any more left, who were alive. So they closed down the mission, handed over all their work to the Lutherans and went back. And only a few went back. In those days, the Moravian missionaries were known for their dedication. They took their coffins with them when they left in their ships from Germany or from Holland, wherever the ports were. Because they said, we can't be sure of coming back alive. We're taking our coffins with us, and if we die along the way or in the mission field, they'll put us in the coffin and bury us there. And I wonder how many of us would be willing to make a coffin for ourselves today. You'll say, excuse me, the COVID is finished, or it's finishing. Don't talk about coffins. Right? But this is the great heritage that we have actually received from our Moravian missionary folk, ancestors. This is the faith that we have inherited from them. This is the dedication that I hope will enthuse us. And this dedication and this commitment really came from God, because it's something that human motivation cannot really give birth to and sustain, especially. Their faith in the Lord Jesus Christ and in the scriptural witness to Jesus Christ was such that they said, yeah, this is what we have to do. But why didn't they go out as missionaries before 1732? between 1732 and 1759, and in this, they went to many places actually. So St. Thomas was the first, the Caribbean. Then they went to South Africa among native, they were called Hottentots. And the Dutch settlers said, "Why are you preaching among the natives here? We're Christians, you come and do pastoral work in our congregation. Why are you doing this?" They said, "No, God has sent us to these people because the gospel is meant for them as well." And then they went to Labrador, to Greenland among the so-called Eskimos. Eskimo is a foreign name. The actual name of the people in Labrador is Inuit. So they went to the Inuit. 19th century, they went to the Aborigines in Australia. And we say Aborigines. They call themselves by another name. We need to know their names actually. So they went to the remotest parts of the earth where other Christians had not been. Settlers had not gone. Explorers hadn't gone. But why did they go in 1732 and not before that? Because the Moravian church is much older. It's at least 250 years older than 1732. Why didn't they go?
We were having 100 years of fasting prayer. And then
Please come forward.
According to my knowledge, I think we were having 100 years of fasting prayer before that, and then we were having war in Czech Republic.
In the current Czech Republic.
Yes.
In those days it was not a republic. Okay, so can you say that again? What were the two things?
First war,
Yes.
and then we had and we were fasting prayer for 100 years.
Okay. They didn't fast for 100 years, but they did pray. Okay, I'm sorry, we said. I didn't mean to make fun of that. But, when we say fasting, what we mean is, intermittent fasting. If it was permanent fasting, that'd be a problem. So, thank you for reminding us of that. Okay. What we discover is that the 100 years of prayer actually happened from 1732 onwards, not before then. And that is the reason why they continued very strongly with missions. And this, 24/7 prayer was something that very small congregation. I think the numbers may have been just about the same as here. So they decided that 2 people would pray for 1 hour at a set time every day. And then, other people would take over. So it happened. And then they prayed and prayed and prayed. It didn't stop for over 100 years. In the 19th century, some of the enthusiasm kind of died down. And they stopped the prayer meeting. And then in 1957, there was a unity synod, that means a big gathering of representatives from many parts of the Moravian world, who said that prayer was so important, we must revive it again. So the 24/7 prayer has been revived since 1957, and it is still going on. But the nature of mission work and its relation to the home congregations has changed, so that this commitment to prayer has spread through all the parts of the Moravian Church around the world. So it's not just the German congregation praying for 100 years, which it did for a long time, and there were the other congregations that followed from that. So when the Moravian Church in Germany had its founding in 1722, and 1732 started the mission work. Their missionary work took them to England. What I mean to say is that the Moravian Church in Germany did mission work in England, even though in England there already were Christians. So if you ask what kind of mission work did they do? They found that many people in England called themselves Christians but were only nominal Christians. And they just went to church for the sake of, or they didn't bother to go. And it was not just attending church, it was the Christian lifestyle that was basically missing. So when the Moravians from Germany went to England, they met people like John Wesley, who himself, being an Anglican, was very dissatisfied by the spiritual life of the English people, and went about preaching. And the Anglican authorities were disturbed by his preaching. They said, you're not supposed to preach like this. You're not authorized, you're not a bishop, you're not even ordained. You're not allowed to preach in church. And there were many people, wherever he went, who became his opponents, and they used to attack him, with stones and bricks and sticks. So he had to run away from the churches, and then he went into the countryside, into the meadows, where people were willing to listen, and then he preached there. And then hundreds and then thousands of people came to listen to him. And that's how the Methodist movement began. And his closest friends at that time were his brother and a few other Anglicans and the Moravians.